So I've brought this picture. This is a fisherman in Madagascar catching an octopus, and I initially brought it because the octopus represents livelihood, income, food for these fishermen. But the more I look at the picture, the more I think about how this guy here is an expert in octopus fishing, and he does something that not many people in the world can do, and that's all because of his culture and his heritage and his parents teaching him to swim probably at the same time that he learnt to walk. And I find it quite amazing the way that the Vesu in Madagascar live with the sea, and it's such an important part of their lives, and perhaps more than the land. So that's why I chose this picture.
Yeah, let's shift to another team.
Several things. I bought this large brain coral, which I think probably is actually from Jamaica. And then I bought a couple of bags of things here. Some gastropod and bivalve shells. And some dried halimeda, which is a green algae. And I brought these because these are kind of integral to lots of the things that I think about in my work, and are relevant, I suppose, to the sorts of ecosystem services that my work speaks to. So the coral, of course, the basic building blocks of the reef, when they're alive, but also when they're dead, and in both of those ways they contribute structure that supports fish and so on, and the reef itself, which plays a big role in controlling wave energy and so on. But also when dead, because this has come from a hurricane deposit along the beach, so this stuff gets ripped up and contributes to the building and the development of the shorelines. So that's why I kind of brought that. And I bought these because the other thing that I'm interested in is sand production from reefs, and how that links through to feed beaches and islands and so on. And so these are just two examples of the many plants and animals that can contribute sediment. They're obviously an integral part when they're alive of the ecosystem, growing in different places, but when they die, they either contribute shells to the substrate or to the beach, or these can be broken down by physical and biological processes to create finer sands. And plants like halimeda, which look quite large, these break down into their individual segments and then ultimately into tiny little carbonate crystals. So those are major kind of sand producers. So there are lots and lots of different types of plants and animals that generate sand, and I bought those because they're relevant to that sort of work that I do. So yeah, there we go.
Okay. Will speak something?
I spent most of my life in Honduras, in Central America, and this photo is from one of the islands off the, it's called Cayos Cochinos, Pig Keys. And I spent, this was in 2000, I spent 2 years volunteering on this island. And this photo brings back great memories. I was volunteering, monitoring marine turtles on another island. But I was, at that moment, I was helping, a local fisherman was teaching me how to gut fish. So I'm actually washing a fish and learning their technique for gutting fish. So, and yeah, it was, I learned so much about how people lived in this environment. And then of course you have the pelicans that are trying to steal the fish from you when you're trying to clean it. And also this island is like 40 meters by 40 meters. And in fishing season, when it's out of season, it's empty. And then in fishing season, there's like several tens of families living on 50 by 50 meters with very basic conditions. And that's their livelihood on this tiny little island. So yeah, it's, I think mostly as a scientist, I would say it's a lot of cultural services that I got from this time there. And yeah, thanks.
Fundo Island, and we were sitting down and having lunch, and it's on the longest possible lens setting I had because this chap was a long way. I'm really making excuses because the photographs are so rubbish, Andy. Sorry.
I'll be critical.
Good. But it was prayer time, and this gentleman proceeded to do his prayer right in the intertidal zone, and when he's prostrating here, his forehead is literally on the sand and the sea. And for me, this was a very powerful message about, you know, the kind of cultural realities that we have here. Because, you know, one of the things that, as the film said, that came out of talking to the folks here is how their environment and their faith and their cultures and their families are not separate things. It's all intrinsically the same.
Connectivity.
Yeah, and you know, from a Muslim point of view, I find it really interesting that if you go to Mecca or Medina, and you put your, you know, and you pray and you put your head down, it's probably on Italian marble, whereas this was literally, this man's livelihood was right here where he was putting his head. So I thought it was a very powerful image. And yeah, okay, thank you. As a reminder. Thank you. 2 more. On the same day, I mean, this was where I was aware of this. On the same day, Dom had brought this magnificent thing, which is a waterproof basket from Cornwall with resin, isn't it?
Yes, tree resin.
Tree resin. And she asked me to go down with the fishers, the community, and go and collect water. And I just loved her at that moment because the sea was forever in the opposite direction. I thought, why couldn't you have asked earlier? So I went trumpeting down with them, and they had been asked to collect some of the water in here. And unfortunately, we don't have that picture right here, but it was fascinating. The guy who had this, he placed it down in a little kind of nestled rock that was almost exactly the same, you know, different colours as it. It blended right. I took the picture because it blended right in, and it just fascinated me, that kind of connectivity between, you know, the colours of the Cornish artist and the reality of somewhere in Zanzibar. I thought that was really kind of quite powerful. But the reason that he had put it down was because he was then going to do his ritual ablution there in the sea. And we're used to, you know, there have been issues around Muslims and water usage and their ablutions. And here was this organic thing. He's coming down to collect the water. He did his ablution before praying. They're in the water that he gets his livelihood from. So that ties in very much with this. This was from Mauritius. And, you know, one was very aware when they were collecting things for their seascapes in Mauritius, there was a lot of this kind of material, which is from Hindu religious rites that they use the sea for, and this was what was left there. So again, there was this very clear connection between people's faith and culture and their livelihood and the sea that they were in. So I thought this was a powerful object as well. Okay.
And what role it can play in the future?
You understand?
We have different items here. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And even pictures. Maybe I can put it in different language. What role it can play in ecosystem service? This one, this one.